Hey everyone, welcome back to another devlog. As you can see, today I'm sort of cosplaying as myself. Life imitates art, which imitates life. This is the outfit that my drawing of myself is based on. I don't really wear this anymore, but I thought why not for this video. So today I thought it might be fun to do a postmortem on one of my earlier games. I've done a few little tiny games that sort of got me into learning about how to use what originally was the Games Factory that became ClickTeam Fusion, and then I transferred over to Construct. So I'll walk a little bit through the first couple things I did on the Games Factory, and that's where I kind of got my start learning about how to use an engine like that to make a game. And then later on, taking a little bit more seriously and trying to really learn how to do it. And so I'll mostly be breaking down the arcade game I made called Bounce or Die. I made that at the end of 2012, I think, based on the copyright I put on there. And that was right at the end of my studying at the Academy of Art in San Francisco. And I was learning traditional animation, but I was trying to figure out what exactly I was going to do with it. And at the time, it was actually the fact that ClickTeam Fusion had created an exporter that allowed you to export to iOS. And at the time in 2012, that was like the really hot thing, was like to be able to create mobile games. So I thought, oh, that would be cool to make a mobile game. And since I had already learned the Games Factory in high school, it seemed like within my reach, which I think that was the first time where I really considered actually like becoming a game developer. Because until that point, it was just for fun. Like the first couple things I made was just because I loved games, and it was a dream to make one, but I never thought I would actually be able to. So I just liked toying around with it. And then it was sort of like serendipitous that the engine that I knew and had learned was starting to become like a more serious option. And then what was nice about that too is that when I found out about Construct, because ClickTeam Fusion couldn't really handle the HD art that I was creating for Guinea Pig Parkour, Construct was sort of modeled after the interface of Fusion. So the transition was really easy. So I feel really lucky because I don't know if I would have believed in myself to create a game if it wasn't for the fact that I had just done it as a hobby in high school, and then the iOS thing got me excited, and then Construct happened to be really familiar. So I do feel lucky with those things happening. But why don't I start with the first thing I made in the Games Factory, and I'll kind of briefly cover what I was trying to figure out, and then I'll get to Bounce or Die, which was a more finished game that I released to the public. So I'm going to pull it up on here, and I'll overlay the screen capture. So we'll start with the first game that I made, and it was called Joe Game CD. I actually found this recently. This was the original game CD that I made. It's called Joe Game CD Volume 1, so I was already pretty ambitious. There's nothing inside right now. So I have the disc somewhere. But when I made Joe Game CD, I was probably like 15, I think. And the whole idea was that I had been drawing a comic about my pet guinea pig, Joe, in this very simple stick figure form since about age 9, and I didn't really progress too much artistically, but in high school I was experimenting more with animation and video games. And so I was running a comic, I was doing a web comic like basically as a kid, updating every Friday. And so I thought it'd be fun to try to make a game. So I actually made the game, burned it to discs, printed custom art, a custom label for the disc, and even though I was only getting like 6 people a day to my site, I was able to sell like a few copies. Someone in England bought one. I don't know how they found out about the comic or why they were reading it, because it's pretty amateurish. But yeah, it was pretty exciting back then. So let's take a brief look at this. Maybe later I'll get more into detail on this stuff. But so we'll pull up Joe Game CD, and so there's a basic menu. So I was basically trying to figure out how to make a game. So I have a main menu. This is all keyboard driven. So it's main menu, instructions. And I was basically just trying to learn. I kind of use this as like a tutorial for myself, like how to learn different game types. I think there were different tutorials for the Games Factory. So the first game is Joe Brick Breaker, and made a little menu for that. 2-player versus, new game. I forgot that I did 2-player. High score. And that's what Joe used to look like, that little pill. That was the original George. So it's very basic, Arkanoid type game, just to learn how it works. The graphics are all gradients except for Joe. No real animation. Forgot about 2-player. So it's like Pong. And then so that kind of taught me just how to program in the engine. Then I did Clone Invaders. I also did 2-player mode. That's funny. A little more animation on this one. And this is just Space Invaders, but with Joe and like clone heads. So this is more learning like how to move a character and have you shoot and have a projectile and have it interact with other objects. Basically what that taught me. I guess 2-player mode is one's the clone and one's the Joe. I guess you just get a point from hitting him. Then I had Joe Jet Game, which is like a top-down arcade game. Very basic. I used a stock explosion. I did the Gwigton Tour, which was Joe's original last name. It was a combination of... Oh no, what is Gwigton? I guess Guinea Pig. Yeah, I had a weird naming convention. But anyway, this was like my attempt at an adventure game, because I loved graphic adventure games. So a little more animation on this one. And then I don't know where the cursor is. It's probably just glitching from a modern computer. But you can click on things and he'll say something, but I think it's glitching on the modern computer. Then I had a Joe trivia quiz. Oh, this is where Joe's last name. It's a combination of Joe and Buffy, because that's Joe's wife. That was Joe's actual mate in real life. It was my brother's guinea pig, Buffy. And I had this character, Ninja Pig of the North, and George was Olgarge. I had really weird names. These are all questions from the comic that I was doing. I only got 13 out of 15. I don't even remember my own stuff. And then I did this really simple 2-player boxing thing. So anyway, that was Joe Game CD. Like I said, it was really just to learn how to program. So yeah, there's like a brief thing of my first ever attempt at making a game. Of course, it's based on Joe, and I produced a CD and sold it. I was always thinking of commerce while I was drawing and creating a series. Like I liked both elements, and yeah, it taught me a lot. It's very simple, but it got me started. But as you notice, there's no platforming. Like there's no jumping. I did a little bit of moving side to side. So I took things very slowly. So the next game was called Game Face, and it's based on one of my comics where Joe finds a lava lamp and a genie comes out, and somehow Joe ends up inside of a video game. And so as my second attempt at making a game, I thought it would be fun to take that comic and adapt it into a video game. And so Joe goes into the video game and you play the game that he goes into. So I have a little menu, and this is an image from the comic, and I let you skip the intro, but the intro is basically from the comic. Here it is. This is what my comic looked like in high school. I was about 17 probably drawing this. So as you can see, I was not a natural with art. It's taken me a long time to learn how to draw. So here I was combining the comic with some in-game sequences. And so the main thing with this game was learning how to do a basic platformer. And really all this is like the most basic, like this is basically as simple as you can make a platformer, which is there's platforms, you can move back and forth, you can jump, and enemies can kill you. And that is as far as I learned for this game, was basically anything you interact with. If it's a platform, you can stand on it. If it's an enemy, it will immediately kill you. And you can jump and you can move. And that was about as much as I could take on at that time. And I did not design these levels very well. I kind of did things randomly. I made the music myself, even though I don't know anything about composing music. And so it has this very avant-garde feeling to it because it's just randomly placed notes in a MIDI program called Recording Session, which I had on the Windows 3.1. And I guess I still was able to use it on whatever I was using. You have 1 hit point, 1 hit, 1 kill. And I had my meta commentary on video games. Very incisive, sharp, witty commentary. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. All right. So that was my example of bad graphics, my intentionally bad graphics, and then here's the good graphics. This is you cross over into the good looking game. Finally, some half decent graphics. So here's where I'm really showing off my artistic ability. And I guess you now have 3 hit points. There's little traps. Oh yeah, and this was a big one, which was a moving platform. So I think this is probably the most complicated thing I coded in the game, was having the platform move and then having you move with it. And then yeah, so if you get hurt, you blink. So I learned that. And basically everything is now going to be a variation on those things I programmed. So let's move over to Bounce or Die. So this one's in about 2003, I believe. So 20 years ago, as hard as that is to believe. So now we skip forward 9 years into 2012, and I hadn't really been doing anything with games, really. I was doing comics and little animations, and kind of gave up on the idea of making games. But towards the end of my education at the Academy of Art, like I said, I got inspired by the idea, I could make iOS games, so maybe I should take a stab at making like a finished small game. And they also had a Flash export, so I knew I could make a game and release it onto the web. And so that's what I did. And the cool thing is it gave me an opportunity to create a game from start to finish. It's very simple, but it is fun. My brothers got addicted to it. Like, they really loved playing it and getting a high score. And there was an online score thing where it was in a third-party extension that kept track of worldwide scores. And I uploaded it to Newgrounds, and it had a decent reception. I mean, it didn't do amazing, but for my first real release into the wild, it was a pretty cool experience. And so with this one, this is the application, this is the executable version so that you can run on your desktop. I added control types so you can use a controller, and I also added a multiplayer mode, but let's get into it. So this is also based on my comic. This, of course, is now 9 years later. So I had moved away from Joe. Once I got to college, I stopped doing that, and I did other comics. But when I went to the Academy of Art, I thought it would be fun to kind of revisit Joe now that I was older and I could draw better. And so this was the updated version of Joe from a comic that I called Guinea Something Good. And we can start the game. All these graphics were actually made on an iPad while I went to school. There is not a consistency to the resolution, so they're all sort of different sized pixel art, which it didn't occur to me at the time that I should set a base resolution and match it. But the big thing I was learning with this, I would say, it always stuck in my mind that on Game Face, you couldn't interact with anything. You couldn't bounce on enemies like in Mario. And so that was really the whole point, was I wanted to learn how to make the character bounce on objects and interact with the world. And so I just built a whole arcade game around me wanting to learn that. And I think it came out fine. I mean, I think it came out pretty fun for what it is. The bigger challenge for me was actually this conveyor belt. So I knew I wanted it to be a simple arcade game, like a one-screen arcade game. And so I thought, the way I can approach that is just have a conveyor belt instead of moving through a level. And the difficulty was getting pushed to one side or the other of an object as it's moving. And I think that was the most difficult thing for me in this, actually, was making it so that you could run into an object while it's sliding and not have it look weird or clip through it. And so, yeah, I was able to figure that out, and how to bounce on objects. And then the way I handled the progression was just to make the conveyor belt faster and faster and faster. And these power-ups, the coffee makes you faster and more agile, but it lowers your score when you bounce on things. And the hamburger makes you bigger, so it's easier, but it's also easier to get hurt, and you're slower, so you get more of a score with the hamburger. So depending on how fast the conveyor belt is and how many objects are friendly. It's one strategy or the other can help you. I guess we'll see how far I can get. I'm pretty practiced at it, and my brothers were very competitive with trying to get the high score, which was fun. So yeah, as it gets faster and faster, it becomes about avoiding the sharp objects, and I just died. So, and finding the bouncy ones. And then I added the time to your score, which was a new thing for me. And on the desktop version, you can save your score. And then I didn't even realize this till I added a multiplayer version. And it's basically just who can survive. So there's no score, but it's you, Joe, and George. Oh, I didn't. Can you bounce on? No. So you don't interact, but oh, maybe you do. There's like a narrow interaction. I didn't even know that. That's kind of cool. And you do push each other a little bit. That's kind of cool. I didn't even know I did this, to be honest. And then yeah, George died, so Joe wins. So yeah, I would say this was like a pivotal moment for me because I set an intention to create a small game, release it to the public. I had things that I didn't think I could program, and so that became the focus of the gameplay, was creating a game around the things I wanted to learn how to program. And I would say really this was the beginning of me considering the idea of actually becoming a game developer. So in that sense, it was a complete success. I didn't make any money with it. It was just for my own growth. But creating something from start to finish and releasing it to the public definitely gave me more confidence and made me feel like, and I think taking on the things that in high school I thought was beyond my understanding, and setting an intention to accomplish those things and then going and actually accomplishing it made me realize that I could take on any challenge that I posed for myself. And I just became more ambitious from there. Now, just for fun, let's take a look at some interactions from the public. So I actually had to look, this is on Newgrounds. This was the first place that I published it. I had to look this up on the Wayback Machine because Newgrounds removed it, probably because of the third-party integration that no longer exists. It's trying to load it with Ruffle. I guess maybe it is loading it. But yeah, I guess it does work on this Wayback Machine. I don't know how well it runs. Seems pretty slow. But let's take a look here. So it got 13,000 views out of 410 votes, 3.43 stars, which for a simple game like this, I don't know, I don't think that's too bad. That's pretty good for like my first attempt at a game. That is the scope I kept very small. And then we can look at some comments. It's a nice concept and the graphics are great. People are very generous. I don't know how I feel about the guinea pig since I own piggies and I would never want to think of anything like this for my pets. Although it is nice to see a game featuring a guinea pig. That's right, buddy. I love it. The game is fun and very addicting, and the background music fits well. Oh yeah, so I should mention the music was created by my brother, and he made really great music for it and sounds. Very nice, but what a strange factory. Yeah, the objects that come down are literally just random things I thought of, like what's bouncy, what's sharp, and what's not bouncy or sharp. So it's very random. Awesome game, very addicting, nice artwork, and overall an enjoying use of your time. So pretty positive overall. Not that bad. The art style is cute. The game is really fun to play. Simplistic and fun. Here's the most critical one so far. Overall, just a retro-style jump game, unique with style and hamsters, but it's just another average game that kills a little time of their life, but it's just so melancholy to me for some reason, and there's small glitches too, but there's progress and error, so you might be on your way. I don't know what the glitches are, but yeah, I don't know. I wonder what the glitches are. Of course, I might have updated it too after that. Badges don't seem to be working, so maybe something with Newgrounds. You can get stuck, can't jump at times. When you first start out, there doesn't seem to be that much stuff that you can jump on until it starts to speed up. So you do a lot of waiting till then. That's a good critical comment. Simple, cute, clean game, but gets repetitious really fast. The medals don't seem to work. The game is well made, but the hitbox on the guinea pig is malformed and the physics are off. Other than that, it's a great little time waster. So these are good critical comments. It's a classic fun and eventually hard. Yeah, it does get harder and harder, which is it was a simple solution, but it seemed to work. One complaint, you can walk over an edge on the far right that you can't see. That's a fair complaint. We'll go to DeviantArt, which was the second place I posted it. So on DeviantArt, it got 7.6 thousand views. and 320 favorites. The game itself is very addictive and well invented. Some objects don't do anything, some can be jumped on, score jumps in a row add extra score, and some objects hurt, while about half of them can be pushed and then jumped over. This idea is original, though the type of game is nothing new. You've still done a great job. While you eat sandwiches and sweets, you get effects like to get fatter and bigger or faster. In some cases, those effects can be negative, which makes it even more fun. The high score adds even more to the game. The graphics are pretty good for a pixel game. For those who have never seen your comics, this game will be very fun. And people posting their high scores. So yeah, this pretty positive reception overall. It's funny because I posted it to Reddit, to web games, and the only response, I got 3 upvotes. This, of course, is not. This is an updated image from my website. 3 upvotes and 3 comments. The highest rated comment. So, what is good about this game? The second one with the most high upvotes is meh. And then the third one with a -1 is funny, extremely addicting, and pretty nice pixel arts. So people did not like this on Reddit. Alright, so there's my breakdown for Bounce or Die. I have added it to my itch.io store. So if you want to support the development of Guinea Pig Parkour, you can grab that one. There is the multiplayer mode and the main mode for the high score. You can see in this video what it is. It's pretty simple, but there is an addictive quality to it if you're trying to get the high score, like an old arcade game. But yeah, it's fun looking back and seeing where I was a little over 10 years ago now. As I would say, that was really the beginning of my serious journey into becoming a game developer. And like I said, it's simple, but it gave me the confidence to believe in myself that if I set my intention to do something, that I could do it. And it's often advice for new game developers to make a small game and release it. Create something that you know is small and simple enough that you can complete. And I guess that's really my version of that. Obviously, I had done many other projects like comics and animations, but to set an intention with a game, set the scope small, set myself some challenges for things I wasn't sure if I could accomplish, and then to put it out into the world and have a positive reception, that was great. That gave me a lot of confidence. And is really what gave me the courage to take on such an insane project that I'm doing now. So thanks for watching and going down memory lane with me. Next time I'll give some more updates on what I've been doing. But for now, thanks again, and I'll see you next time.